be seated. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Great pleasure to have you here this morning as we indeed come together, as I asked C.S. Aden and C.S. Munya yesterday, for us to be able to get together and for me to be able to thank each and every one of you for the role that you have played in helping us get to where we are today. From the little girl there, Charity, who, congratulations, I hear you got married last week. I can see your boss is sitting here. Tell him not to worry, the small problems that are there we'll sort out. He doesn't have to make too much noise, and I think he knows what I'm talking about. But really, as President, I want to take this particular moment to appreciate each and every one of you for the role that you have played, either individually or collectively, to help our country to record such a remarkable improvement in the ease of doing business. In short, this is nothing more than a thank you breakfast. Without a doubt, since I took office in 2013, it has been my administration's singular focus to position Kenya as the preferred gateway to Africa for regional, foreign, but also for domestic investment. It has been our aspiration as a government to make Kenya the destination of choice for manufacturing and technological innovation within the continent and at home to a thriving community of global and local entrepreneurs. Through your hard work, this aspiration is evolving before our eyes, and it is turning into a reality. Just a few days ago, I had the privilege to flag off our national carrier, Kenya Airways, on its maiden flight to New York. And with this action, Kenya joined a very exclusive club of 9 African countries who enjoy direct flights to the United States. This new route is not just a route because it brings added impetus to our economic aspirations and validates our continuous efforts to champion Kenya as a premier logistics and financial hub for East and Central Africa, with now connections to Europe, Asia, and now to North America. Ladies and gentlemen, even as we celebrate today, it is important for us to reflect briefly on where we have come from. And this is important because however noble our ambitions, our development and economic plans, when we took over, our ambitions were big, but these were quickly dampened by the realities of our operating environment for business at the time. It was a fact that in 2013, our SMEs and Kenyan corporates were performing suboptimally, and that several global multinationals had been deterred from establishing a presence in Kenya on account of the unfavorable business environment. This fact was confirmed time and time again during our various engagements with private sector and other stakeholders. This appreciation led me to begin the work of dismantling the silos within government that had contributed in a large part to us being labeled as being basically tone deaf to the needs of business. It started with my executive order of 2014 to embed a whole government and a multi-agency and interministerial approach towards the ease of doing business agenda. These reforms would become a substantial part of my administration's flagship deliveries during my first term in office. As a government, we were determined to attract international investment, support our informal sector, and ensure that we remained competitive both locally and internationally. And it was clear to all of us that improving our global ease of doing business ranking was not a peripheral issue, but rather one that was core to our future. Since that time, great emphasis has been placed on the business environment reform agenda, with a number of key thematic areas which were isolated considered for special attention. These included addressing the country's glaring infrastructure deficit, generating sufficient energy, and expanding accessibility to the national power grid, embracing ICT as a tool for provision of government services, instituting legal and regulatory reforms in all key areas affecting the operation of business in Kenya, dealing decisively with corruption and governance issues, as well as improving the security of our country. 4 years later, I believe it is obvious to even the most casual observer that this administration has made unprecedented investments towards the expansion and improvement of our country's transport infrastructure. In the same period, we have taken the country from an energy deficit to an energy surplus position, having more than doubled the number of Kenyans with access to electricity. We have rolled out the national fiber optic backbone to every single county headquarters, and we are well on the way of connecting each sub-county office as we proceed to the last mile. Through our Huduma centers and e-citizen platform, we have completely revolutionized how Kenyans consume government services. For many of us in this room, we can't even remember, truth be said, how life was before Huduma. This is perhaps one of the best examples of how the government has become one of the biggest proponents of digitization. As previous speakers have indeed mentioned, we have passed numerous laws: a Modern Companies Act, the Insolvency Act, the Business Registration Act, the Movable Securities Act, the Special Economic Zones Act, and many business-related regulations that have made business life in Kenya much easier. The battle to create a predictable legal and regulatory environment for business continues, and the next frontier of our war will be to bring order to the various taxes being levied to businesses at the county level, all of which threaten to reverse the gains we have made so far. On the issue of governance and the war against corruption, this is a work in progress. We are systematically closing down the loopholes in government procurement processes that create easy opportunity for graft. We have strengthened the capacity of our criminal justice system, all the way from the investigative agencies to the judiciary. We continue to cooperate with international agencies to monitor and recover the proceeds of corruption, as was mentioned earlier. Most importantly, we have started to hold individuals accountable for their actions. I want to tell you that this is not going to be a walk in the park, but we are determined to stay the course and root out corruption from our midst. On the security front, we have come a long way. We have increased the size of our police force service by close to a third. We have undertaken a considerable modernization exercise to equip our men and women in uniform, and we have in the recent past actually started to see the dividend of some of our investments, especially in CCTV surveillance infrastructure, which a lot of people complained about, deployed currently in Nairobi and Mombasa, and even skeptics have now changed tune as they see evidence compiled from CCTV network footage starting to play a greater role in successful prosecution of criminal proceedings. However, critical to note is that this focus on the ease of doing business has made Kenya's business sector more productive and globally competitive. As an illustration of this fact, our investment levels as a country have risen from $350 million in 2013 to $2 billion in 2017. We have more than doubled our collection of revenue from company registry from Kenya shillings 150 million in 2014 to 365 million in 2017, with a corresponding increase in number of companies registered daily, up from an average of 30 per day in 2014 to 200 companies daily at the end of 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, having set some context to this journey that we have traveled to get here today, I want us to turn now to the main theme, which is the Doing Business Report of 2019. I shall not bore you with the technical details. Many of you have gone through and read the finer details of the report already. But I would like to highlight the 5 reforms that have been recognized by the World Bank for Kenya this year, propelling us higher than we would ever have been in global rankings. These are getting credit, protection of minority investors, resolving insolvency, paying taxes, trading across borders. Excellent reforms in these areas, amongst many others, made since 2014, have elevated us from number 136 in 2014 to 80th last year, and now today to 61st out of 190 countries globally, meaning that in the space of 4 simple years, we have risen 75 places and 19 places since last year alone. We are in the top 65 nations around the world, and this is for the first time since we started featuring in these rankings. And we are yet again, for the 3rd time in 4 years, amongst the top 10 most reformed countries globally, being 7th to be specific. I want to congratulate CS Aden Mohammed for his remarkable stewardship of the whole government effort in this program. And indeed, to his whole team, I offer my sincere appreciation for a great job done. I would also like to extend my gratitude to the team of project managers from IBM, thank you, and our various partners in this process, like the World Bank and DFID, and others who have patiently walked this journey with us, supporting us all the way. To them I say, Asanteni Sana. Thank you very much. However, I must state that despite this great news, as we have also heard, the job is not yet complete, and there is always, and indeed there is room for improvement. We must continue working hard to conclusively address the areas where we scored poorly. Indeed, as I conclude, I would like to request those of you representing our private sector, but also our friends in the background there, the Fourth Estate, to put our country first always. You are the most critical part of Team Kenya. Remember always that how you speak of the country will reflect on how we are perceived externally. We may not be a perfect society, far from it, but we are a great people, and we should always strive to project the best version of ourselves as a nation. Shukran, but I want to say a few words, if I may. Like I said, I just want to really thank everybody for the role that they have played over the last 4 years in helping us achieve this wonderful result. In and of itself, it may seem nothing, but without a doubt, it is a reflection of a lot of hard work that has been done by a good number of well-meaning Kenyan men and women, together with the support of our partners who I have just mentioned. This means Kenya is actually changing, and we are changing. And whereas we expect more, we must appreciate what has been done. And unfortunately, as I've said, sometimes it is very frustrating, when all you can do is hear about complaints, especially from our Fourth Estate. And there is never anything good. Please, I want you to remember, there are a lot of people, well-meaning Kenyans, who are doing a lot, spending sleepless nights to move this country. And the country is moving forward. The country is moving forward. We can't always talk of the challenges without recognizing what we've done, because there will always be challenges. And these are challenges that we must overcome together. Together. Sometimes I find it very frightening when you hear and read some of the headlines and the stories and how people represent their country, so that 90% of the time, you're forced to deal with issues that in many instances are not even real. But somebody will call you and say, oh, but I read this in your newspaper. And you say, oh, well, let me give you what the true facts are. Why don't you people just source the true facts and represent the true facts? We are, as a government, we're not worried about being challenged. I've always told our friends in the Fourth Estate, you can say whatever you want about me, but never forget that you are a Kenyan. If you ignite fire in Kenya, you're not burning it for Uhuru Kenyatta. You're burning it for yourself and 40 million others. Let us be positive about our country. Let us criticize positively with a view of getting solutions, not of highlighting division and bringing animosity. I really wanted to say that. Na nitaisema na nitaendelea kusema. We're moving, like I said, in the right direction. There is still a lot of work to be done. And undoubtedly, one ministry that's going to have a lot of work to do is the Ministry of Lands. And the Ministry of Lands has a lot of changes to make. And in this respect, I want to thank our fellows who are secretaries. They supported the reforms that we were doing in changing the Companies Act to make it easier, our company secretaries, to make it easier for people to register companies, to remove the hurdles. It is very disappointing when you see our lawyers being in the front line of defeating reforms that we wish to make, especially in land registry and how people are able to register mortgages and everything else because of your self-interest. We've got to look at the country not about just my sector or my little corner. Yeah? The more business you do, the more there will be work for lawyers and the more jobs we will create also for others. So really, the greatest challenge we have right now is in the Ministry of Lands. And we're going to push, and I'm calling on our brothers and sisters in the legal fraternity to be supportive of this agenda. Don't look at it from a selfish point of view. Look at it from what does it mean in improving our business environment, in attracting investment, in increasing volumes of business, which also increases your own businesses. Let's just not look at one tail end. I really wanted to mention that. And the same applies also to county governments in terms of cleaning out their registries. We have begun an exercise which I have been doing quietly with a few very good young men and women, which we hopefully will be announcing soon, where we have begun mapping the entire country from a geospatial point of view. We will be releasing very soon the results for Nairobi, which will show that Nairobi is currently being supported by 150,000 ratepayers and land rent payers. But the truth of the matter is that Nairobi is a county, as of now, that has in excess of 1.5 million properties and property owners, the bulk of whom are not paying an iota. How then will we deliver water, build roads, if only out of 1.5 million properties, less than 150,000 are supporting everybody else, and then we complain? These are the kind of things I would even ask the Fourth Estate here to highlight, please. Yeah? The burden is being carried by very few, and yet the demand for services is vast. How do we achieve it? We're not going to be able to do so. So once again, these, I believe, are things that as we execute, we will start to see our revenue base grow. And as our revenue base grows, even the complaints of higher taxes, we can start now reviewing them downwards as everybody carries their share of the burden, because we must all carry our share of the burden. Equally, to our judiciary, we have to fight this corruption. It has also been a menacing issue. I am very proud and happy of both the reforms that we have been able to undertake in our investigative agencies, in our prosecution agency. We have invested a lot of money, but we are starting to see results. More investigations leading to an increased number of prosecutions, and I assure you, you will see a lot more. But our judiciary now must step up. They must now turn those cases and those prosecution cases that there into convictions. Because at the end of the day, if people are going to know that we are serious about corruption, that is going to be based, unfortunately, on the number of people who are going to be locked up. And it's going to be based on the number of resources, assets that we are going to recover. So, to me, it's a challenge. We have agreed we are going to give more resources to the judiciary, but friends, let us deliver. Let us deliver. I think the other thing I wanted to talk about is final. There's two great gentlemen here, right? C.S. Aden and C.S. Munya. And as I said, I congratulate both of them for the work that they have done. And C.S. Aden has led this process for the last 4 years, and I believe he has done a commendable job. And me, I'm a believer that if you've done a great job, we should let you continue doing that job. Because, you know, as much as we change, my friend here has also many great attributes. But there are things that, you know, require that historical knowledge. So, C.S. Aden, I want you to continue leading, driving, and coordinating this particular exercise until we cross the 50th mark. That is not to say that I don't have confidence in my good friend, Bwana Munya. I have a lot of confidence in him, but I expect him to focus on the areas that I told him to focus on, and that is focus on our SMEs, focus on ensuring that we deal with finality, the issue of counterfeit, focus on the issue of KEBS, focus on the issue of our SACCOs, and rejuvenating our cooperative society. Kazi ni mingi tuifanye. So hivyo ndivyo ningependa, na nitasaini hiyo kusema kazi itakuwa namna hiyo. So it's good to have continuity, especially if it's moving in the right direction.